Hey guys, Jerod here, Magnetic Men Club. Before I get into this video, I'm going to be peeking over here. I got a little marker board kind of filled out on just some statistics. And I want you guys to listen to these stats on marriage and divorce. And the title of this video is Marriage, Is It a Trap for Men? Well, this is what we're going to get into today. Kind of go over the pros and cons of marriages and how society has really changed the dynamic of a marriage. You know, I remember my grandparents, I want to say they were married 58 years before my grandfather passed away, and they had a great marriage. Traditionally, however, my grandfather worked. He made the income, he came home, he tended to the garden, he fixed stuff around the house, and my grandmother took care of the kids, and she became his helper, meaning he was self-employed. He did TV repair, and she would schedule his calls, she would make sure that the clients paid and all that stuff. So she effectively became his helper. Today, the way society is, with women far more educated than they were back when my grandparents were growing up, they have more opportunities. They generally make more money than men. Again, they're more educated. Society has changed what we used to know about marriage versus how it is today and how that has changed marriage. So here's some stats that I want you to kind of just digest and kind of think about. And these are based off of 2001 numbers. So in 2001, and I'm rounding up, I'm not going to give exact, but in 2001 there was a little bit under 700,000 divorces. In that same year, there were 2 million new marriages. So more people were getting married than got divorced in that same year. Sounds great, but the problem with first marriages is half of them end in divorce. And you would think you would get it right on your second marriage. It's not true. 63% of all second marriages end in divorce. Well, Jerod, then I'm going to try a third. I'm going to be dumb enough to do a third. Well, 75% of third marriages end in divorce. So what's going on here? Why can't people seem to get it right? I largely think it has a lot to do with this new social norm where women are more educated. They don't typically need the protection and provisioning that a man used to provide, or they don't think they need it. And because they're so much more independent, it causes a lot of conflict and really a lot of confusion in marriages. Men's traditional gender roles was to provide and protect, where women's traditional gender roles used to nurture and be of a help to her husband. And that's all changed. And so, right or wrong, indifferent about either one, is marriage today a trap for men? It's a good question. The average length of a marriage is about 8 years. So you court somebody, you get married, there's a really good chance in 8 years it could end in divorce. The average cost of a divorce is $7,000. Now to me that's very low because I got divorced and it was a hell of a lot more than that. But let's just use that number. So to get married, you have this beautiful ceremony, you get the dress. Hell, some marriages cost $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 more, some are cheaper. But it costs money to exit. Remember, marriage is a contract. It is a marriage contract between a man and a woman. And in order to break any legal contract, you need attorneys. Now, attorneys, they're all bloodsuckers, especially divorce attorneys. They're all just in it for themselves. There's money to be made in divorce. That's why they become divorce attorneys. So, interestingly enough, after first marriage, 64% of all men will remarry, and only about 52% of women will remarry. Both marriages and divorce since 2021 have been coming down, but a large reasoning for that is millennials are deciding not to get married, maybe just live with their boyfriends and girlfriends, and if they get married, it's going to be much later in life. Knowing how society has changed, knowing how women are, again, more independent, they're more educated, they make more money, the question I would have for women is, why would you want to get married? Likewise, with men who are making less money, they're a little bit confused on what their role is now. They're trying to play catch up. The traditional role is still there, where men are still expected to do the maintenance, they're still expected to go to work, but now they're expected to do child rearing and helping with chores around the house, because now the woman is working. So it's become more of this tangled partnership, or this tangled web that can work for some people, but you have to remember, a lot of the men that are coming up are products of divorce in the 80s. And so all they've seen is single moms. Their moms raised them for the most part. And a lot of the times their dads were either not around as much, or they just didn't have a very strong male upbringing. So these men are very confused right now on what their role is, or what their role should be. And then you have this strong woman who is now dictating. She's actually become the alpha. She has more of this masculine energy, which sort of dissolves that relationship, because in his mind, in his soul, he knows he's supposed to have the masculine energy. It's almost like the roles have flipped. I talk a lot about this in channel, about masculine energy and feminine energy, and one of the biggest reasons why divorce happens is those roles flip. The man becomes the bitch and the woman becomes the man. And it turns both people off. Both people are equally turned off in this exchange, but it happened. It's very hard to get that back if you don't recognize it. Matter of fact, the last person that I coached around this he was telling me about all the signs. He now recognizes that his wife was not happy in the marriage, but it didn't come to him until after the divorce, meaning he thought the marriage was great until she slapped him with the divorce, and it threw him for a loop. And they went through the divorce process. He realized she's seeing somebody new already, and that got to him. That obviously hurt his ego, it hurt his confidence. And so he became very confused on the whole thing. But as he went through a little bit of therapy, as he went through a little bit of talking with me, he started seeing, this is actually a few years ago, he started losing his frame. He started losing that ability for him to lead the family, and she had to take over, and that's what dried her up. That's what really made her lose respect for him. So again, I'm going to come back to the question, is marriage a trap for men? I firmly believe if you don't vet and date properly and court properly a woman to see what she's about, and you go in too fast, if you're not married or you're not strong enough to understand female dynamic, and you placate to her and you don't have strong boundaries, the marriage could fail. And this is why a lot of first marriages fail, because they're just too young. They're just too young to get married. Most first marriages, it's in your mid-20s. It's way too young, fresh out of college. You still haven't done anything with your life other than get a degree and get debt. You're just starting your career. And then what happens? You meet somebody, you are so enamored by that person, you don't want to lose that person, and then you guys both get married. So what's happening is you're getting married in love. Let's go back to my grandparents. My grandfather dated my grandmother, then he went to war. Traditionally, marriage was for raising kids, more of a financial stability, having stability within the home. It was all centered around raising kids and bringing in the next generation. It wasn't 100% just, oh my God, I love him, that's why. There were other reasons. Also, back in my grandparents' time, you didn't have all these social influences like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and fucking Twitter and all of this stuff. You didn't have all of these other people that have access to you. I want to look back into my marriage. I got married fairly young, 26. I got out of the military, kind of went the same path as my grandfather, and I got married young, had kids young. I'm 48 now. My kids are largely grown up. They still live in my house, but they're making their own decisions, making their own money. Going through my divorce and in therapy about it, you know, after the divorce and into coaching about it, I realized I did love her. I did respect her. She's the mother of my children. I never badmouthed about her, but I realized I was too young. I didn't even know who I was. I didn't know at 26 what I was really doing. I was just going through the motions of, again, what society placed on me. It says, well, these are the things you need to do. You're dating her. You need to go get married next. Oh, then now you need to go get a house. Oh, she needs a car because now you need kids and she needs a bigger car. Years go by and you're kind of stuck in this rat race. You're kind of stuck and you're feeling like, is this it? Is this? I need you to step back just for a minute and find out, how much do you really know about this person? Have you guys discussed finances? Have you discussed if you guys have a child? Is she staying home? Are you staying home? Are you both going to keep the status quo and put the kid in daycare? This is definitely why second marriages fail, and I completely understand why third marriages fail, because you haven't learned anything. There's been no growth between your marriages. You've just tended to get into another relationship, and again, society says, well, you should get married to her. And you get married to her and you're making the same mistakes that you made in the first marriage. Or she's making the same mistakes she's brought into the second marriage. So neither person has really grown. And this is why I do feel like it's a trap, not just for men or women, but society's trapping us, because there's money in marriage and there's money in divorce. The more debt society can place on you, the more heartaches, the more of this dream initially that they can place on you, that you're going to live happily ever after, the American dream, a house, white picket fence, 2 kids, a dog. That's gone now. That dream is gone now. And when people finally wake up and realize this isn't the dream that I thought it was, you start looking at your partner, you start looking at your situation, you start having resentment. I could have gone further if I didn't marry her so young. I could have been a partner in this law firm, but I dropped out of school because I loved her. So I'm not making a value judgment on anyone who decides to get married for the second or third time. What I am doing is telling you, these are the statistics. If you haven't learned, if you haven't grown, if you haven't done any work on yourself after the first marriage, why do you think a second marriage would work? Why do you think a third marriage would work? Another part of marriage that I feel is a trap for men, back to the societal expectations, is we're still expected to some degree to be the man of the house, but we've lost a lot of our authority over women because they became so independent, because of this bullshit feminist crap that's out there, because they're making more money, and because they have this huge fucking hammer which is called divorce in the courts. By getting married, they have a benefit for the divorce, or at least they have this club that they can use. And I'm not knocking women. You used to, back in the day, get divorced for infidelity, get divorced for maybe your husband beating you, like really bad things, of course, and of course you should get out of that marriage. But now, none of that. It's just no fault. Just didn't work out, just not really feeling him anymore, we just don't love each other, and then that's it. It's no fault. There's no reason other than I did everything I could, he did everything he could, we're just going to exit the marriage. You used to have to fight for this stuff. I had grandparents. When I talked to my grandfather a couple years before he died, it was his 52nd anniversary. I got the opportunity to talk to him, like, how the fuck did you do it? Like, I love grandma, but she's nuts sometimes. He's like, yeah, marriage is, it's hard. Love is not always there. He's like, there was years where love was gone, and we just had to ride it out till love came back. Because love is an emotion, but respect was always there. She always respected him because he was the man of the house. And I get it. Times are different now. Men have become so feminized now that if I was a woman, I don't know if I'd want to get married to most of these guys out there. They're too pussyfied. They're too in their emotions. They're too in their feelings. And they're not out there grinding and hustling. They're not out there living their purpose. They're living their purpose through their woman. And that's cute in the beginning, but what happens is she's going to get tired of it. She's going to say, why am I taking on this role? Why am I becoming his mom? But so at the end of the day, do I think marriage is a raw deal for men? It can be, but most of the time men put themselves in a position because either A, first marriage, they're way too young, they don't know what they're doing, they don't have a father around to maybe guide them, and because they were raised by their moms, they have a lot more feminine energy. They listen to their mom, and of course the mom's going to want him to get married to have kids because she's still living under that proverbial matrix, that proverbial society. Well, my son's of age now, he has to meet a girl, he went to college. Start vetting. If you're a young man watching this and this is resonating with you at all, and you want to marry your girl, and you think if I don't marry her soon, she's going to run off, well, then she wasn't the one. Because you don't want to rush a decision that's supposed to last your entire life. You're supposed to be married once. If you found this video helpful at all, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon so you know when new videos are made. With that, have a great day.